What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another video. Today, we're talking about spec work. So my friends and I have done a couple of spec projects over the last year or so. They've been a little bit spread out, but we actually finished shooting one last week, and it was such a good time. They're so rewarding. So I was just thinking about it, wanted to jump on here and kind of talk about the benefits of doing spec work and why, from my perspective, especially if you're a DP, why you really should be doing spec work. But yeah, if you don't mind, hit the like button down below and let's get into talking about spec projects and all of the wonderful benefits to doing them. So if you don't know, spec work, at least in my definition, is any commercial project that you're not getting paid for, there's not a client, you might not even be delivering it to anybody, but you have an idea and you just want to go out and make it. This can be literally just you by yourself with your camera, or you and a whole crew, which is how I love to do it. One person show, 10-person crew, it doesn't matter. Okay, so part one of why spec work is so good is because you get to make what you want. I feel like, especially in the commercial industry, there's not a lot of, oh, I have this idea and I'm super passionate about it, and then you get to go all the way through and execute it exactly the way that you thought of it. Personal projects like these are the time to think about what you're passionate about, think about what story you're trying to tell, think about companies or brands that you really like, products you really like, and how you can promote them or tell their story or do something meaningful or do something fun. You have kind of free reign to do whatever you want. And again, that doesn't happen a ton when you're getting paid, especially early on and especially if you're new. A lot of times you're kind of more of a service worker than an artist. And of course you get to bring your ideas and your thoughts and your passion to that. But while in paid work, I feel like you get to do a portion of that. Spec work, it's 100%. I know I've heard people say, make what you want to get paid for or show off what you want to get paid for. Basically, if you are wanting to shoot Nike commercials and sports related stuff, but you don't have any high action, high energy sports commercial content on your portfolio, it's going to be kind of hard to get hired for that. If you're stuck shooting a certain type of thing, if you're stuck shooting something you don't like to shoot, make what you want to shoot, put it on your portfolio, make one, make two, make 10 of them, and you're way more likely to get hired and get paid to actually make work like that. I know I feel a lot better about my portfolio, and I like looking at my portfolio and seeing the spec projects, and I'm like, oh, those are the things that I love. Those are the things I want to get hired to make. Those are the first things I'm going to show anybody that is trying to hire me as a DP. Another aspect of that kind of like make what you want, do what you want realm is you get to do your best work. A lot of times in commercial work or paid work, you get home and you look at the footage and you're like, oh, this is pretty good. Like, this is good. I'm happy with it. The client is happy with it. The people who are paying you are happy and that it's accomplishing their goals, but it's not always like, oh yes, this is the best thing I've ever shot. I'm so creatively fulfilled. Literally almost every time I get home from a spec project and I look at the footage that night and I'm like, yeah, this might be the best thing I've ever made. This might be the most fun thing, the most beautiful thing, the most powerful thing that I've ever shot. And I think that kind of comes down to you're only doing this thing because you're passionate about it. No one's getting paid, so no one's motivated by anything other than, hey, we're gonna make this dope video and it's gonna look awesome and it's gonna be great. And I think for those reasons, you end up doing a lot of pre-production, you end up doing a lot of planning to set yourself up for success. At least in my case, we always end up doing a good amount of pre-pro and a good amount of planning to make sure that when we get there, we can crush it, have an awesome video, and say like, hey, no one got paid, but that 12 hours of work was absolutely worth it. Another small point is this is also a really great time to be experimental, to test out new gear or new techniques or something that, you know, you might not be super comfortable doing in front of a client that is counting on you and relying on you. On a spec project, it's practice. My goal career-wise is to just get hired to shoot commercials all the time. But a lot of the jobs I'm doing right now are first AC or more assist based. I don't get to DP a ton. So when I'm on a spec shoot, I get to fill that role and I get to really live there. I get to talk with whoever's directing it and have that collaboration that DPs do on real sets. I get to say, hey, like, this is the frame I think we're wanting. I'm trying to figure out what the director wants and give her the best frame and give her the best composition. You know, I have time to say like, hey, let's bring that hair light in. Let's bring that light and like shape their face. Let's make this look really awesome. And it really is just such a fun time to get to step into those roles. And maybe you have multiple roles that you want to try out. Maybe you want to direct. Maybe you want to be a gaffer. Maybe you want to be a producer. Doing projects like this allows you to just try all those things out and see what you love. The next part, and I know we've talked about this a little bit already, but there is no client. That means a lot when there's no pressure coming from someone paying you and relying on you. There's definitely still pressure because you have this idea. If you're running a crew, you've brought these people together, you wanna make sure it's worth their time, you wanna make sure everybody is getting something out of it, but you're not necessarily having to stick to certain parameters. You don't have to make 2:15s and a 30-second cut. You don't have to adhere to any brand identities or anything like that if you don't want to. If you want to look at Snickers brand identity and completely follow that, which is not a bad idea, totally do that. But the best part, and my video editors will know, there's no revisions unless you want to make them, unless you and your team or whoever's working on it want to make them. There's no like, oh, this looks great, but can we change this and that? And those aren't bad things. When you're getting paid to do something, the client has the right to change things and have opinions and bring those ideas. And a lot of times the piece is made better for it. But I know there are some situations where you're like, man, I think I'm gonna like the director's cut better. Spec piece, it's all a director's cut. Okay, last part, and this is definitely the most important part to me about doing spec projects like this, is you just get to hang out with your friends and make a thing. It's a little bit hard for me to explain, but genuinely every single time I'm leaving one of these crewed out spec shoots that we do, I'm driving away and I'm just like, oh yeah, like this is right. This is what I should be doing. This is what I was meant to do. That was super fun. Yeah, there were struggles, there were hurdles to overcome, but that's the job. And I'm not saying that never happens on paid jobs, but whenever you just get friends together, because that's normally who it is if you're crewing out a spec shoot, you're getting to support their growth and their ideas and their passions as well. It's like, if you do it, you'll know what I mean. We have behind the scenes from these shoots and I'm like, oh, I think I might have enjoyed the shoot more than the final product, just because it's just 10 hours straight of like, yeah, problem solving and stress and running behind and cutting shots, but it's also watching your friends do what they do and like be really good at it is super fun. And then they're doing the same for you and supporting you. I'm kind of rambling on that note, but all right, y'all, that is all I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, hit like down below. If you have like a spec project, I guess you can't link it in the comments, but if you have one that you're hype about, drop it in the comments down below. I'd love to check it out. I'd love to watch it. The one that we shot last week should be coming out sometime between like 2 weeks from now and 6 weeks from now. But y'all, thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me here in my backyard, wondering if my neighbors are listening to me make a YouTube video and being slightly uncomfortable. I'll see y'all next week.